Well, don't quote me exactly, but those are not as protected as those others. So, yeah. Double check the regulations before you kind of quote me on that per se. But owls are protected. So just like your eagles and your hawks and things like that, you say, well, they don't always get a good rap in a sense, but they are a predator. But what this is doing, this one's eating mostly rodents. So you think about your cat, and you call it a mouser. It's really good at catching mice. Owls are much better of a mouser than your cats are. Mice usually generate out at night. Well, cats can be as well, but owls really superb to catch their prey. So they get the incredible eyesight. But nothing can use their eyes in complete darkness. So they have other senses. Birds can actually make a memory map of their area. Where the trees are, where's the barn, where's all the different structures. So also the other senses they can use, the hearing. Some owls basically have one ear a little higher than the other. So you ever walk into a room, you don't know which way that sound is coming from, their sense of hearing can basically prevent that from happening. They can actually hear that. So go on YouTube sometime and you look at just an owl flying right above the snow, wherever. It's hearing a little rodent or a vole moving through the grass underneath that snow and just pounces right on it. You can't see that mouse. It's using sound. So just, it's hard for us to kind of, not really visualize, but hear and think about that because some of our senses are not as strong as other species just in general. Go ahead.
How can they hear? They don't have ears like that.
It's funneling. So instead of this, it's all that whole funneling. It's funneling in there. So if I look close enough, you could see just a whole overall ear opening. So basically, if this was gone, it was all feathers coming out and just funnels that whole sound right in there. So some can actually hear like echolocation, like bats and dolphins can basically kind of hear like a sonar radar type system. So they've done some experiments. They'll put an owl into a gymnasium, something that's entirely closed, no light whatsoever, then let a mouse go and let the owl go, and the owl can basically pick that up and just go there and grab that mouse. So it has to be really good, and you think about owls usually generally out at night. A lot of birds have really taken on that role. A lot of the birds just kind of go to rest at night because they have good vision, but not that night vision in a sense. So this guy is found in the similar area like a red-shouldered hawk would be. It's kind of more wet, swampy area, but you'll find these in different parts of Davis County as well. But other birds out at night, there's not going to be too many. You got the owls. I mentioned before about those, the nightjars, the whippoorwills, and the nighthawks in a sense. But most birds, just so relying on vision, have to just kind of go there and rest in the trees there at night. So if you look close too, when she blinks, she's got an extra eyelid. You ever see that kind of extra eyelid on your dog, that little pink thing sticking out on the side? But the owls have that as well. This vision is so important. You've got the eyelid, then the extra one to kind of clean it, kind of almost like windshield wipers. Did she blink yet? You can almost see it. The other eyelid kind of comes in from the side and moves. But I think diva is a pretty good name for her, that she is probably a diva in her own right. You don't always really know whether it's male or female. Often birds of prey, the females are bigger, the males are involved, but with the females, they're kind of the last means of defense for a nest. They're laying the eggs, protecting the young, doing a lot of different things in that respect. She doesn't like me touching her feet.
Do they mate for life or not?
On these, I know some raptors will mate for life, but if one passes away or gets killed, they'll wait a year, then basically pick up another one. So it might be different per species. I'm more familiar with the bald eagle, that they'll mate for life as long as one's alive, but if one dies, then they'll actually pick up another mate in a sense.
What kind of lifespan do they have?
These, I can't imagine more, in captivity could go over 10 years, but I imagine at the most in the wild, probably 5 to 6 years. So it's kind of really hard as we look, and since, owls just in general, it's harder to be king, it's harder to be on top. You've got to catch that food. Compared to a plant eater, you go up and find that plant is right there. But if you're going to be a carnivore and eat meat, you've got, if you don't find that food, you can basically, end up starving to death. I'll go ahead and put Diva up. She's a little worked up.
Life is a circle. So this is a poem called, it's on page 41, and it's called A Description of a Dream or Premonition. So I'll let you decide if this is morbid or a circle of life sort of poem. Picture a gaunt man sprawled out beside the weathered wall of a cabin. He resembles a fallen branch, a discarded arm of a tree. He is barefoot, and his toes clench the grass. His face looks like unbleached cotton. His eyes are pale discs with candle nubs behind them. His mouth hangs open, a black cave into his chest. His arms stretch into the air. Sunlight speckles him. He looks like a pool of water. His life has been a long ramble with primitive beauty. He carved a spotted fawn on his powder horn. He doesn't need it anymore. Blue butterflies come to him, one by one. They cover his arms. They light on his face. Their wings wing back and forth. They fuss over him as if they were washing a dirty child. He now has the shape of a blue swarm. The butterflies take his nectar, his body consumed, his light dispersed, his vision now disappeared. Maybe morbid, maybe a circle of life.
You just think about in general that what makes birds all in common, taking all the different birds, there's an incredible amount of variety, and they're one of the most abundant animals that you see. We can go out here and see different things flying. This is a feather from a turkey vulture. You often see that large that bird flying around there. You call them a buzzard or a vulture. Kind of the name that most bird biologists use is a turkey vulture. You may call it a turkey buzzard, just in there. So there's a flight feather, kind of looks like a quill you could write with. This is from a great horned owl, and that's the one I'm going to just show you just in a minute. So all birds have feathers. So about 10,000 species of birds. So from a vulture, an owl, an ostrich, a penguin, a sparrow, a starling, dove, whatever we're dealing with, they all have feathers. So that's kind of unique to them. They got the hollow bones as well. You want to get off the ground. You don't want to carry a lot of that weight. Just in general, not all birds fly, so we can't use that. Ostrich, penguins, other things. The extinct dodo doesn't fly, so that doesn't really work for that in a sense. They lay eggs, but other animals lay eggs. Fish can lay eggs. Many reptiles lay eggs. So we think about things in general. And just kind of we relate to the birds to us, the whole overall shape of that owl. But birds are warm-blooded like we are as well. We always learn about warm-blooded versus cold-blooded, but it doesn't mean our blood's warm and something else is cold. It basically maintains that high metabolic body temperature, high body rate. Needs to eat a lot. We need to eat a lot, 3 meals a day. Birds need to eat a lot just as well. They're warm-blooded. It takes a lot of energy to fly. Their body temperatures are often much higher than ours. So on some birds could be 104 degrees they need to have all the time. Some birds are just so worked up and stressed, they can have heart attacks like we can. When I took my bird biology class down as undergrad, said a cardinal be just looking fine sitting on a branch and fall over dead because they had a heart attack. They're very, high metabolic animals. They need to eat a lot. So birds coming in your feeder, whatever we're dealing with. But, we look at flight, if I had a mourning dove, a really common bird that we have here in Davis County, western Kentucky, if we get up and fly, its wings would make a good amount of noise. An eagle, we'd hear its wings, but an owl, we wouldn't. So owls, if we look at them, basically compared to their body, their wings are big and they're actually wide. So they have the wings, and with those and their feathers, the leading edge of their flight feathers are kind of have a little fringe on them, and that will basically help in reducing the sound. So if we had an owl fly through the room, or we can see with moving the owl wings, you're not going to hear it for the most part. So it has these kind of like a silencer on that. So you think about that little mouse in the grass has got those ears, can hear pretty well. It doesn't want to be caught by that mouse just in general. So the owl will basically have as much silent flight as possible. But in biology, it's always give and take. I always kind of say there's no free lunches. So many times the way that fringing that nature can basically mess up waterproofing. So if you can't be waterproof, then you can't, may fly well in the raining conditions or stay warm in other conditions as well. So, how owls will kind of be silent in their flight, it's kind of give and take, cost benefit kind of scenario.